Good morning, everyone. A very warm welcome to Day 2 of the Colombo International Maritime Conference. We are thrilled to continue with our discussions on the theme South Asia Connects and Collaborates. Now, to kickstart the proceedings for today, we are honored to have a veteran in the apparel industry, Mr. Shirendra Lawrence, the President of the American Chamber of Commerce in Sri Lanka, who will deliver the opening remarks. Mr. Lawrence, the stage is yours.
So good morning, everybody. Kind of feels like the morning after the night before. It obviously was a good night. So I'll just try to do some justice to the honor that's been given to me by Rohan and the team to just give some opening comments to set some context for your day's discussion. I am in no sense an industry professional from the maritime industry, but it's certainly been an industry that's massively important to me and to the businesses that I've been working with over the years. So maybe I can just give some context of how we see the industry from outside. But today I'm actually here with a slightly different cap than the apparel sector, where I've spent the better part of my life. I'm actually here on behalf of the American Chamber, which I'm privileged to be leading at the moment. So in that context, happy Thanksgiving. Today is Thanksgiving Thursday. So what better day to appreciate the effort put in by people like Rohan and his team to create prestigious events like this. We were chatting just before we came in today about the pressure that falls on the private sector in countries like ours to draw attention to the importance of these activities, whereas in some countries maybe it's supported to a different degree by authorities. So thank you to Rohan and team for creating this event, making sure it's kept going, and also, of course, for inviting me to be here today. So for the benefit of those of you who are less familiar with the American Chamber in Sri Lanka and why we might be connected or invited to be connected with an event like this, the AmCham, probably along with our fellow colleagues from AHK who look after the German chamber, probably the only two significantly active international chambers in the country that run outside of the bilateral councils that are run by the Ceylon Chamber of Commerce, which they do an amazing job of. So we have been going since 1992, which maths says is around about 32 years. And our prime objective at AmCham is to foster trade, investment, and business relations between the USA and Sri Lanka. From a Sri Lankan context, we have 350 member organizations, and probably as important or more important is that we are a member of an umbrella organization called the American Chambers of Asia Pacific, which basically is a region that extends from us and India and Pakistan on this side of the world, right down to Australia, all the way up to Hong Kong. And so it's quite a large organization with about 24 member countries. And the AmChams within those countries work closely together. So there is an element of, rather than just purely supporting our members here, we do have a responsibility to work with those colleagues around the region, and logistics and so on come into play in that space as well. We are also affiliated to the US Chambers of Commerce, which is the world's largest business networking organization, with something like 6 million businesses connected globally. And that gives us a huge reach into support for our members, and also to connect with whichever other organizations we work with, including ones organizing events like this, to see what we can do to bring global best practices and create connectivity that helps that cause. So moving then on to this particular event, why co-partner with the maritime and logistics sector? It is a question. Well, firstly, fostering bilateral trade, as I said, is one of our key responsibilities. That's what we do. And in this context, a robust logistics and maritime infrastructure is absolutely critical to enhancing continuity of existing trade. So being connected with an event like this is of significant relevance to us as a chamber and to our members. So that's a good start. I myself have been in exports for the last better part of 30 years from the country. And I was reminded of the importance of this sector probably more than ever when we were emerging from the pandemic. So whilst the pandemic was on, everybody took it for granted, nothing moved. There was an acceptance, and obviously the priority was bringing it under control. But as it started, even whilst it was started being in the apparel sector, protective clothing became important. How do you manufacture protective clothing for those who are on the front line? And then coming out of the sector, as the brands started building momentum, they needed us to support them. And at that time, however vigilant we were in our organizations, and we're very fortunate to have a very strong umbrella organization with JAF and the Apparel Exporters Association and so on. But whatever we did, infection of the virus in the ports or the airports just brought everything to a standstill. And I actually had a personal responsibility at that time to create that connectivity, to make sure that we could keep our goods moving. Because there's absolutely zero point in making all the effort to overcome all the obstacles and make things happen and try and continue to position Sri Lanka as a little special place to our customers, which is what we have to do, if you can't get the goods out through the door. And of course, ironically, that call only comes at the last moment, which is too late, because our customers don't want to hear everything's going fantastic, the goods are ready, but the port is slowing down. So ports, airports, and so on are absolutely critical, and our relationship with them is important if we are to sustain the relationships. And I think it's worth reminding everyone that our industry, that is the apparel industry, along with probably the rubber industry and tea and coconut as well in this country, have grown with our customers on the basis of strategic partnerships, not transactional relationships. So strategic partnerships are partnerships which really kick into play when things are not in the best place, recessions, whatever crisis. So when that ability to deliver on that commitment moves outside of your control, that is a really, really difficult situation. So this sector is super important to us, to our members, and we continue to support and work very closely with the teams in this sector. But then going beyond that, and if you look at the vision of the government at the present time, attracting new investment is equally important. If we are to grow our exports from the 10, 12, 14 billion we are at the moment to 20 billion plus, which has become more and more important to whichever government has been in power over the last few years, we need to be able to demonstrate that in addition to our unique global positioning, which was talked about yesterday quite significantly as well, we need to have the global best practices in our maritime and logistics sector, so that when we present ourselves to new brands who might be interested in Sri Lanka, and you put on the radar why Sri Lanka, because after all, it is a competitive world out there. We have lots of good reasons. Education standards are fantastic, ethical standards, social environment, all of that good stuff, good skill levels, everything is there. But we need to be able to say we're world class in everything, not world class in the things we control, and not quite so world class elsewhere. So connecting with events like this and the significance of events like this is really, really important for us as an industry, and for AmCham supporting multiple members in the same space to continue to move. And finally, thirdly, collaborating with the maritime and logistics community allows American Chamber to support innovation, investment, and of course, policy development. We spent a lot of time at American Chamber over the last few years looking at the opportunities that will be presented to Sri Lanka as tensions between East and West develop. If we are able to pick up a very, very small amount of that trade, we were talking about yesterday, one of the keynote speakers had a slide and talked about the pressures on China and the China +1 space. Well, we could easily be that +1. Why not? And in fact, I can tell you from time I've been spending in Washington, D.C. recently with the American Chambers of Asia Pacific, that American corporations are looking very, very closely at the +1 strategy. And just to make sure it's not hiding something behind it that's actually not as genuine as it might seem. And again, Sri Lanka and Sri Lankans tend to be trusted. So we have an opportunity here. So working with the industry in that context is really, really important. And development of the industry to be truly world-class. So when we go up there, we can say we're world-class at A, B, C. Because also, at the end of the day, let's not forget the industries are now moving to end-to-end expectations. In the good old days, manufacturing sector, many of our customers, many of our members at AmCham were expected to manufacture goods. That was what it was. You handed it to a third-party logistics supplier. Well, that in itself had its challenges. But today, the expectations is innovation and design through to delivery. If a brand needs us not just to deliver their goods to a single point in a single country, but needs us to go direct to consumer, we have to support that. So when we go up there today and we talk about our innovation capabilities and our talent we have developed in the country to be able to support the key brands in these spaces, but we are not able to, we have to say on the delivery side, we're kind of so-so, well, it's not going to work. Success going forward, leveraging on all the opportunity out there comes from being able to offer end-to-end, highly innovative solutions. So we're very, very, as a chamber, mindful of all of our members' expectations. We see a significant reason to continue to be engaged and support events like this. So we're delighted to be invited to be one of the 2 chambers supporting the event. So thank you, Rohan and team. And I can absolutely reaffirm American Chamber's commitment to supporting Sri Lanka's maritime and logistics sector to create a really dynamic and forward-thinking future, and certainly look forward to positive outcomes from this conference. So in wrapping up, thanks again to the organizers for inviting us to be here. If anyone else here today would like to engage further with American Chamber, I'll be around for a bit of the day. Our secretariat is based at the Cinnamon Lakeside Hotel. Pretty easy to find. If you walk in from the car park, it's the first office on the left. So, and we do have a full-time team of 6 or 7 in there. So they're always able to help you. So please do reach out to us, either directly or through Rohan and his team, who we connect with very closely. And with that, I will step back and leave you to have a wonderful second day. Thank you.